data process, and I'm going to jump right in to explain what that is. So Enlighted is a Siemens company, and it uses data to create safer and healthier indoor environments. And it enables some of the things that you can see here: the social distancing, monitoring, cleaning, digital contract tracing, occupancy limitations, touchless entry, and points of contact, managing where people congregate and what items they're dealing with in the space. So how does this work? This works basically, it starts with the sensor you see in the person's hand there. It's about the size of a 50-cent piece, and it is self-contained. It is mounted in the lighting system and on the sensor on the wall. And it basically is a self-contained unit that has, for the processing power of about an iPhone 5. It communicates wirelessly in a mesh manner, and has multiple sensing capabilities, including power, temperature, light, and sensor for motion. What this does, this network of sensors throughout a building, what it provides to us in relation to the idea of making sure we have social distancing in any building, it allows for really high definition occupancy analysis. Where are people in the building, or how are they using the building? It also provides location, real-time location of people and assets, and provides alerting to that. So those are the two areas that we're going to focus on. So how does it work? Again, it is mounted, sensors are mounted into existing lighting fixtures, or can be retrofitted as you're going through an energy retrofit into new light fixtures. Some of the awesome apps that it produces, the capabilities it enables as an IoT platform, an Internet of Things platform. It allows for things like desk management, to enable desk booking. If you have areas where people move in and out and use spaces, it enables those spaces to be monitored, and you can book those spaces. And more importantly, if once those spaces are vacated, it can send an alert to the janitorial staff to go in and do extra cleaning for that area and make it safe, and then re-enable it to be used again. So it also helps people find amenities around the building to prevent people overrunning each other or overcrowding. And things such as, is this office colleague working in my area? Is this hospital, is this nurse or doctor in the hospital? How do I find them? Where do I look? So instead of walking around the buildings and looking for people and making that exposure happen, this will allow you to know if that person is in the building. It also allows spacing back-to-back meetings to allow for the rooms to be sanitized, so we avoid that overcrowding. Additionally, it allows for visibility of how the spaces are utilized, whether it's a hotel or a hospital or an office building or a government building or a school. It allows...
No, also...
Sorry, Tom. It allows for those rooms to basically be monitored for the density of usage and how is the space being utilized, and allows for really data-driven spacing, usage of space to allow for the social spacing that we needed. This also allows, again, for cleaning schedules to be analyzed and harmonized around the uses of some areas more than others. And then we can actually go into how dense is the usage of the building, where are areas of high usage, where are areas congregation. These heat maps allow for recalibration of how a building is used, and then we can validate if those changes are working. Something else we're seeing is at-risk pathways. We're seeing a lot of buildings changing the way their buildings are entered and exited, and how people move around inside a building. You see it in supermarkets where they allow you to come into one entrance and you can only move up and down the aisles in a certain way. All of this is, again, to provide that distancing. This again allows that heat map, that risk pathways to be identified, and it can optimize the effectiveness of your plan, and it can also optimize the janitorial routines that are used to make sure those high travel areas are, gain the extra sanitation that are required. Contact data and alerting. As we're moving into the new normal, there is a greater need for contact tracing of people that have been exposed to the disease, and how we can alert folks that have become into contact with them. So if you have a location, a badging application in your building, you have a way of tracking folks when they're in the building, this can be an overlay of that and actually can give you some real data-driven contact reporting. So if you do have somebody who's been in contact with COVID, is going to be self-isolated, it will identify and be able to send alerts to folks that they have spent a certain amount of time with, and identify those in a spreadsheet. So back to the 7 areas of focus. That was the enlightened piece of it. The data tracking, the IoT, making a building more data smart about being able to enable social distancing. We're now going to move on to the other area of focus that we think is very important, which is reducing the spread of airborne and surface contaminants with a holistic approach. We're going to focus in on the O2 prime bipolarization technology, and I'm going to start by just quickly talking about contaminants, and then I'm going to hand it off to Tracy Stoner, the CEO of O2 prime. So indoor air contaminants are classified in 3 main categories. There's particulates, which are very important and need to be reduced, and we'll go into why a little bit later on. And obviously, where everybody's focus is the biological, right? The bacteria, the viruses, molds, and pollen. And then you have gaseous, which are VOCs. So if you look at this on the right-hand side, if you look at the size of a human hair and you look down at the bottom at the size of a virus, if a human hair was a Mack truck, the virus would be the size of a sugar ant. That's the size of the particulates, the size of the things that we're dealing with here. And on that note, I'm going to hand it over to Tracy Stoner to talk about the O2 prime technology and how that can help take care of these items for us.
Thank you so much, David. I'd like to start just at a really high level and talk about where ions occur in nature. And they occur in real high concentrations where the ocean meets the shore. And what happens is, as the waves are crashing onto the shore, the friction force of that action generates ions. So go to the next slide, please. Also find them at very high elevations where we see a lot of mountainous regions and waterfalls. If we were to take an ion meter and go to the top of that mountain and take a reading, we would find that the ions per cubic centimeter of air is going to be in the 5,000 neighborhood. In a city, that number is far lower. Not uncommon to see 200 ions per cubic centimeter, and ions are depleted naturally by pollution, by people, by buildings and equipment. So what we're doing with the needlepoint bipolar ionization is we are artificially creating those ions that Mother Nature normally creates. So we're replenishing them as they're depleted in our everyday surroundings. To talk really specifically for just a moment about what bipolar ionization does. This slide shows that on the very right-hand side of the screen, you see a virus molecule. Over toward the left, we see natural hydrogen, oxygen molecules that are present in the air. When positive and negative ions interact with those, they form hydroxyls. The purpose of those hydroxyls is they go to the virus, they go to the bacteria, they rob them of the hydrogen so that they can once again become a stable atom. They create H2O. The way they do that is they rob the virus, the bacteria, of the hydrogen. The hydrogen is the food source for pathogens. So by doing that, they're inactivating that virus. It can no longer live without that food source. So bipolar, our needlepoint bipolar ionization creates those ions. They're both positive and negative. They're released into the air circulation stream through the HVAC system. Anytime we move air, we can move ions into the space. This is one of my favorite slides. You may have seen this pop up in different news articles, magazines, as COVID-19 has made all of us so much more aware of particles in the air. This illustrates just how important and the impact that they have on us is. These two women are in a conversation. It's assuming that the one on the left-hand side of the screen, as she is talking, she is moving particles from herself into the airstream. Large droplets will drop in a matter of 1 to 3 feet. They'll drop onto surfaces, desktops, onto the floor. Those that are very small in nature can travel anywhere from 5 to 160 or more feet. And as David indicated, the COVID-19 is an incredibly tiny particle. It can travel a tremendous amount of distance. That means that it's available to get into our lungs as we breathe and do our everyday activities. This is a mature technology with proven results. There are more than 150,000 installations in the US, and they're in all kinds of vertical markets. They're in the hospitality industry, they're in schools, they're in hospitals. You can find them in airports. There are a lot of installations. Happy to talk about those separately in more detail if you would like. One of the things, oh, can you go back for a minute?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm just...
We're both moving at different speeds here. What a key benefit of needlepoint bipolar ionization is its ability to reduce and control a lot of different things. It can reduce and control viruses. It can reduce and control bacteria. It can reduce and control those airborne particles as we were showing in the previous slide. Something that are also additional benefits from it, maybe not a highlight and a focus right now in this post-COVID-19 world that we're living in, but it also can reduce and control mold and VOCs. Every article of furniture, flooring, wall coverings, they all outgas VOCs. And this product also can attack a large, long list of VOCs and manage those as well.
You actually have the slide later with the mold jars. So.
Ah, thank you. So this is, Siemens created this drawing. I want to give you guys props for that because this is awesome. In the top left-hand side, what you see is an air handler. Doesn't matter if it's a rooftop system or if it's located above a drop ceiling or even in its own mechanical room. All our buildings have HVAC systems. We have a combination of air that we are returning from the space and air that we are bringing in from the outside. We mix those, put them across a coil, and a blower redistributes that air into the space. The needlepoint bipolar ionization can be installed at the air handler. That's our favorite place to install it. It injects ions directly into the airstream so that they are not only cleaning the depth of the coil, they are also being distributed out into the space. Once they get into the space, they flood that breathing zone with virus-killing ions. They attack bacteria, mold, pathogens that might be present on any surface as well. If it moves air, it can move ions, and we have installations in unit ventilators, which are probably most popular in schools, terminal units, hotels, any kind of air handling system, rooftop, mechanical room, above drop ceiling, air curtains, hand dryers, fan coil units, and equipment can also be installed directly in ductwork if an air handler is not a good installation location. What do we have next, Dennis? Thank you. I mentioned just a minute ago the beauty of installing the O2 Prime equipment on the coil directly is it will clean the depth of through the depth of the coil. It keeps that biofilm from building up on the coil, and biofilm also takes away from the energy efficiency of the equipment, in addition to being a nice host area to grow all kinds of pathogens and molds. Additionally, as the needlepoint, as the ions are flooding the space, one of the things that they do is they're looking, the positive and negative ions are looking to become stable again. So they will attach themselves even to particles. And when particles are super small, what they typically do is they will bypass the filtration system in any HVAC equipment. Most of the filtration that we have on our HVAC systems in a typical environment is not designed to get that minuscule particle size out of the breathing zone. So it'll bypass the filter, and generally, if the coil is wet, it'll lodge itself on the coil. If it's in the heating mode, it will just pass through and recirculate into the air again. Through this positive and negative ion generation, those small particles are suddenly charged, and they start to attract to each other, and they agglomerate in size. They get bigger and bigger until they reach a point where they actually are picked up by the filtration system. So they're no longer going to bypass the filter, and it makes those filters more effective and more efficient. A lot of third-party testing has been performed on what can be addressed with needlepoint bipolar ionization products. And for O2 Prime, these are our test results. The SARS-CoV-19 has been tested, and the kill rate is 99.4% in 30 minutes. You can see there are lots of other pathogens on this particular list: C. diff, E. coli, Legionella, MRSA, norovirus, the SARS human coronavirus, TVOCs, and mold.
Which is really relevant to the conversation that the governor's having with his concern about air circulating in buildings, which he believes circulates the virus. This is a technology which stops that happening, which actually is actively killing the issue.
And I know the concern is whether or not, go back for just a second. Putting additional filtration in HVAC systems with higher HEPA or MERV ratings is one potential solution for capturing more particulates. However, let's go back to the thought of the COVID is incredibly small. Matter of fact, the average size of the COVID particle is 0.12 microns. That's not going to get picked up in filtration until you get super, super high MERV filtration. And most HVAC systems that are out there today are not designed to handle the pressure drop across the installation of a filter that can handle this kind of removal. So this is another reason why the O2 Prime needlepoint bipolar ionization is a great way to address it. Please switch now. All right. I'm a visual person. I love showing things like this. On the left-hand side, we've got day one of a test that was conducted where a single slice of bread, a cup of water were put into 2 sealed containers. On the left-hand side, we've got the needlepoint bipolar ionization device connected. Right-hand side, we just sealed the container. 12 days later, the sealed container that contained just the bread and the water is terribly moldy, as you can see on the right-hand side. On the left-hand side, however, our piece of bread looks the same as it did 12 days previously when it went into the container. You may see just above the bread on the container some haziness. What we've got is water vapor being generated as a result of the ions killing the pathogens that are trying to, and the mold that's trying to grow in there. So it's keeping that from happening, and we just see a little bit of water vapor as a result. What do we have next, David? There's many installations of the O2 Prime equipment, government, both federal level, at the state and local level. The White House, I believe it's the left wing, the West Wing, Darlene will have to correct me there, has this technology installed at the White House, and it was just recently installed in Air Force One and Air Force Two to make sure that keeping the air on the plane clean. K through 12 schools, higher education, a whole host of examples and installations that we can point to where this has been very successfully used. Healthcare as well.
Yeah, many applications, many locations, really every vertical.
So I have done all the talking. I'm going to ask if Miss Darlene has anything she would like to add at this point.
No, I think you did a great job.
So thank you for that. And this is really, you know, we're pretty proud of this approach that we've created. And coming back with confidence, it really means that, you know, it is important that we allow the folks that are going to come and recongregate and live and work and play and stay in these buildings to really have a level of confidence that they can do that and not worry every day. So, you know, this technology approach, this holistic approach, this solution set really addresses all of those issues. But I'd like to open it up, if it's okay, to discussion and answer questions and anything you have. I think we've got some online questions.
So I'm not seeing any questions in the chat,
Okay.
but we can go ahead. What are some of the most commonly asked questions with this?
I think you know, how quickly can this get, you know, how quickly can we move on this this type of evaluation and on working the solution for a particular customer in a particular vertical? And the answer to that is very quickly. It's a very easy process to get engaged. You know, we work with the customer to do an evaluation of their systems and of their buildings with them. We talk about, you know, what they are trying to achieve. All of this, of course, is in the context of the guidelines that are being produced by the state government and federal government, and you know, it's harmonized with those. But it's really going through their facilities, and we will work up a plan, a process, and some recommendations. We'll discuss it, and along the lines of that. It gets into, well, how does this stuff get paid for? How do we enable it to happen, you know, quickly? And we have financial solutions for that. Angela, there are several options for private and public to make sure that this stuff is able to be paid for in the in obviously the reducing budgets that everybody's facing. We do that primarily through looking at other opportunities within the buildings and the facilities and the infrastructure to save additional energy and additional costs through efficiency, energy efficiency, and possibly renewable energy, and put all of those things together to create a package that really pays for itself, over time. So what we're trying to achieve for public and private entities is there is no out-of-pocket expense for doing this. You get the best technology in a really great plan that's harmonized with the state and federal regulations and guidelines, and you don't have to go out of pocket to get it done. It pays for itself through the energy savings. So, we believe it's a pretty powerful approach to getting it done. Other things we get asked, is this something that is scalable? Absolutely. It's scalable across any size building, down to a single hand dryer in a bathroom, right? Up to the biggest, largest skyscrapers in New York City. We're doing everything in between. Is it also something that is going to be flexible over time? Is this something that we're going to be locked into, and if regulations change, are we going to be stuck? Yes, it is very flexible. It is a platform that allows for that kind of flexibility and change as the new now becomes the new normal as we go through developments and progression to deal with these COVID issues and new issues that will come up. This platform is very flexible. It really has a level of technology that is flexible enough to enable modifications and changes to really react to anything that is thrown at us. Other things that we come up with, I'm trying to think other things that we're at.
Does your system require a special maintenance, or what does maintenance look like for the system?
No, actually the O2 Prime system is relatively pretty much maintenance free. The probes themselves, some of them are self-cleaning, and the larger bars that go into the air handlers, annual maintenance really. If you go in and replace an air filter, you can just wipe it down with a damp cloth, and that's really it. It really doesn't add to the burden. And the same thing with the looking at the IoT with Enlighted. These things are self-contained. There's no maintenance involved. They're pretty very user-friendly. And again, it's a base technology. It future-proofs you against what is going to become the new normal as we progress through this crisis and further crises that will come ahead of this. There's going to be another, unfortunately, there's probably going to be another pandemic like this in the future, and this will get you prepared for that. You'll be in a good shape to handle it. People ask about different verticals. I mean, it really covers every vertical out there, everything from municipal government buildings and libraries to stadiums, to airports, to hospitals, hotels, medical office buildings, school districts. We're doing a lot of work on school districts, college campuses. It really lends itself to managing and making all of those assets really something that can create that confidence, to the folks that are going to inhabit them and use them. It really is a way of, and we found it very, very important to get the message out to everybody. It's no good just doing something and not telling anybody. It is really important that the public, the users, the people in the buildings are made aware on a constant basis that this is happening, this is active, this is sustainable, it's happening every day, and they can get feedback that it is happening, and they can get feedback on their own actions as we try to change the way we act with each other, right? Social distancing, am I doing a good job in the building? These types of IoT systems and feedback processes can help reassure people that those things are happening and happening well.
And how about reporting? You did hit on, traffic throughout the building and things like that. How often can one receive reporting from the system?
It's literally real time. I mean, you can look at an app, you can look at any kind of data technology, like for an app on a phone, it will give you real time. Some people are putting things like a screen in the lobby, so when you walk into a building, it gives you an update in real time of what is happening in that building, what is happening in that lobby, what is happening in the individual rooms. So, you know, it really is everything as we all expect nowadays, right? Everything needs to be now. Everything needs to be real time. You know, nobody wants a delay. Nobody wants to look in the rearview mirror. So, you know, that is important. So yeah, so this is real time, you know, data, actionable real time data.
So we have a question about commenting on third-party lab validations.
What was the question?
Let's see. Can you comment on the third-party lab validation or other M&V demonstrate?
Darlene, do you want to talk about the third-party labs?
Sure. Are we talking specifically about the COVID-19 testing?
Yeah, I believe so. They're working, asking specifically on working how to kill the molecules.
Okay, so when you have a virus and it's a single cell organism, we attack the RNA DNA cell of the single structure or organism and remove the hydrogen bond. So when you remove the hydrogen bond from the virus, either in the air or on surfaces, it removes its food source. So it can no longer live.
Got it. Perfect. All right. Well, I think that is all the questions I can see from the box. Are there any other questions, Darlene, David, or Tracy, that you can think of that you hear pretty frequently?
They might want to know how we measure and verify that information, you know? So as we know, the particles that you can read in your spaces can determine if you have, you know, particles in there small enough to carry viruses. So one of the things that we in Siemens have been doing is testing the particles in the spaces so that the customer is more comfortable to know what's in there now. And then after we install O2 prime, the particle reduction. And David, I'm referring specifically to VRM.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, so we get feedback from the systems that they're operating and the parameters they're operating under. You know, that's also in real time.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, SEDC wants to thank you guys so much for doing this webinar with us. It was very informational. I can't wait to hear the feedback, and we can't wait to push it out to the community again, and we can't thank you enough.
Great, thank you very much. And
Thank you for having us.
yeah,
Absolutely.
thank you. Take care, everybody. Stay safe.
Thank you. Have a great day, guys.
Take care.
Bye.